Hi Nadeem, welcome to 17 Minutes.
Hi Razia, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Pleasure to be on your show.
Good to have you. I think we should start where we inevitably must start, talking about Citibank, which has been such a huge part of your life.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about that.
Well, Citibank, I joined very early on in 1979 and stayed with them for 27 years in 9 countries, working in very different functions. So I got a vast level of experience Citibank gave me, which actually is helping me considerably, although what I'm doing right now is materially different. But some of the disciplines remain the same, whether it's people management or sales management or credit management.
Yeah, good practice continues.
Absolutely.
No matter where.
So we take what we can from the good practices we learned at Citibank, and I only work for one institution, and try and instill them or transport them to what applies to microfinance. That's
such a huge part of your life. I mean, almost 30 years. I'm sure it was quite a wrench when you left.
Well, it's a very conscious decision. To an extent, I could say I've been there, done it. But as far as Citigroup was concerned, I worked in practically every continent. I worked in all the major financial centers, and I did a stint in Pakistan for about 5 years at the head of the consumer bank and launched consumer banking in Pakistan.
Right.
But I wanted to do something very different, and I wanted to do something that would impact the common man.
Right.
So when I thought about microfinance, it was a huge shift from what I'd been doing, because I spent half my career in corporate investment banking and half in consumer banking.
Yes.
There are some elements of consumer banking that lend themselves to microfinance. But other than that, for the steep learning curve, and it remains a steep learning curve.
But I'm sure that for you was now the thrill of starting from a new aspect of banking and going at it.
Well, the challenges and the thrill were threefold. One, the first, the ability to come back to Pakistan and actually work in Pakistan and create something in Pakistan. 2, do something which impacts the common man. You'll be surprised to know that only 5.2 million people in Pakistan out of 160 million have access to credit.
Right.
Only 23 million people are account holders. So the bulk of the people in Pakistan are disenfranchised. They have no access to formal capital, no access to deposits, and no access to insurance. So the whole challenge is try and bring these products down to the common man,
right,
in a manner that's accessible to them.
Yes.
And in a magnitude that works for them.
I know it's a tragedy that finance is a rich man's luxury. The irony being that these people are the ones who need the leg up and the help.
Absolutely, access to capital can change one's life. Yes. So the ability is not everybody is bankable, but like I said, there's huge 30 million people in Pakistan who are potential microfinance customers. We only got about 1.6 million as an industry loan customers.
How many branches have you?
Tameer, 1.6 is the entire industry.
Right. Okay.
Tameer right now will end the year with 25 branches and 4 sales centers.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, 2 years. Because in microfinance, one of the whole name of the game is volume and outreach. By the end of next year, we should be about 50 branches and more, about 40 to 50 sales centers, so 90 outlets. And we'll also be launching branchless banking, where people will be access to money transfers, getting utility bill payments, opening accounts through their cell phones. And there are 62 million people in Pakistan who own cell phones, so you can exponentially grow access to capital and access to basic banking facilities through another distribution stream.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Again,
that's very exciting.
Innovative and the latest.
Well, the idea, and it's been successfully tried in South Africa, Philippines, and some Latin American countries.
But then, this is like a 180-degree shift from your Citibank work, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
How has that impacted your life, your work?
Well, you move. This is a decision I made by choice. I wanted to come back. I wanted to do this. So you have to make that transition, from being a corporate banker to a microfinance, individual development finance. You have to work with very different set of customers. My customers are people who make 10 to 15,000 rupees a month, have a small shop or a small operation, or work outside the house.
So that's kind of the polar opposite of what you've been dealing with.
Totally opposite. And so even my branch staff is very different from the branch staff I had at Citigroup.
Right.
But it's a real thrill. It's much more exciting. It gives you a much higher level of satisfaction.
Much more rewarding to just be part of something.
Yeah, I sleep much better at night, because once we're done in 5 years' time, hopefully we'll create a world-class organization that Pakistan can be proud of. So when you talk about microfinance, in the world, then hopefully there'll be 1 or 2 institutions in Pakistan, in which Tameer will be one, whose name will come up as a model for microfinance.
That's great.
That's the ambition, that's the aspiration.
Yeah, I think because that's what our country is lacking so much of, is hope, literally. And if these projects can give the common man hope. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, and like frankly, we don't have any world-class institutions in Pakistan, and this is the industry where one has a chance of actually creating an organization like that.
Yes.
So not only do that, create a brand for a Pakistani organization, but have in 5 years' time 250, 300,000 plus customers, and a household is 6 people. So you would have impacted 1.8 million people.
That's pretty
by
impressive.
providing them access to credit.
Yeah, yeah. And so how are you finding now the adjustment of working with a very different sort of employee, a different sort of workforce? How have you adjusted to that?
Actually, I'm finding this much more enjoyable, very honestly. At this stage, you have to be at grassroots level if you want to have any impact. And working with this customer base is very rewarding and very pleasant. Meet the people. In fact, the loss norm of microfinance institutions is far below the consumer bank loss norms in Pakistan or worldwide.
Really?
And the people you access in microfinance, if you do the credit assessment right, are people who value their own reputation a lot more.
Right.
Than people with the higher end of the market.
So then, have you been traveling into different parts of the country?
So absolutely, that's one of the another rewards of launching a microfinance bank is that I'm seeing parts of Pakistan which I never did as my corporate hat on when I was running Citigroup over here.
Yeah, going to the main centers and that's about it.
That's right. I mean, we were limited to 5 cities. In here, we're already in 13 cities.
Right.
And cities that I've never been to before. So it's very exciting.
Like where have you been for the first time?
Well, I mean, I previously had not gone to even cities like Gujranwala, Gujarat, Pasroor, much smaller towns. Faisalabad I'd been to. But we are going to be in Multan, Bahawalpur, Mirpur Khas, Tanodaya, Tanol Jam. So we're going to be in all minor cities of Pakistan, hopefully by the end of next year.
And I'm sure they're quite beautiful and
and we travel by road, you see. So you get to see and you meet people and you have to stay overnight. So you get a lot of sense of what Pakistan is about than previously in the bubble that we are used to living in.
Right. So I think this has been quite an impact on you, this coming back and getting into sort of the grassroots of Pakistan. You seem to be really relishing that.
Absolutely. You see, if in microfinance, you've got to have a passion. If you don't have the passion to change things, and if you're only doing this from a commercial lens, then it doesn't work. Because it takes a long time for an institution to break even in microfinance as opposed to a large commercial organization.
Yes.
You've got to have both. You've got to have financial targets, but you also have to have social targets. And when you marry the two, then you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, sounds good. So now you've been traveling here, but what about your travel around the world? Are you a world traveler, or do you have specific spots you like to hit regularly?
I used to be a world traveler. I'm so glad I'm not anymore. I used to spend my life in, on a plane. I hardly go out. I go out, probably once or twice in a year now. And I usually go to the United States because some of our major funders and investors are from the US. Otherwise, I travel within Pakistan, and I'm finding that much more enjoyable. But I prefer now also to go up north, in the hills, Nathia Gali, or in that part of, of the country, or even explore the, the beaches beyond Karachi, on the Makran coast.
I believe they're quite stunning.
Absolutely. So, but time is of premium right now because when you're a startup, the time constraints are imposed on you as a result of what's required by the institution.
Yes.
So hopefully, after 3 years of operation, we've been operating now for 2 years. This is January is going to be. We started actually open doors on January 2006. So it's only been 2 years for us.
2 years.
Yeah. We started from scratch. Now we're up to 600 people in staff. We've got about 30,000 customers. We've lent out more than $15 million, of disbursement of loans. And we're up to 25 branches. So we've grown fairly rapidly, but we've got all the pains of rapid growth you experience and the learning of being in microfinance.